Good morning, cowboys, cowgirls, and outlaws. Welcome to the Slick Sixguns Network. I am coming to you live, and I am glad that I am here talking to you. I have my coffee today. This is going to be a pretty interesting live stream. It's a little different from the average. I have some things I need to talk about, and it's important. So let's go ahead and get right to the chase. Why am I doing this video? I'm doing this video simply because there are things that are being mentioned on YouTube, and there are things that are true, and there are things that really aren't true. And I want to present to you the truth of what is going on from my perspective and my perspective alone. So that's what it is. It is my perspective. It is not anyone else's perspective. It is strictly my perspective and from this channel's perspective. So before I tell you why I'm telling you the truth, I have to tell you what other YouTubers are saying about this topic. So it is no surprise that a lot of YouTubers, gun tubers in particular, have been posting topics that pertain to their channel either receiving strikes from community guidelines, being banned from YouTube altogether, or even mentioning that others have been removed, but they themselves haven't been. That's where a lot of people are getting their information. Some people may actually know what's going on, and for those of you who do, and maybe even part of the YouTube community guidelines team, by all means, you can share with us. Maybe you can elaborate. I'm just going to talk about my perspective. So what I want to do is I want to go over what is actually in black and white. And that is what is really important here, is a lot of people are making assumptions of what is going on. They're hearing what other people are saying. And quite frankly, that's how rumors get started. So let's go over the black and white of the community guidelines. You can always find this stuff just by Googling. You can just Google YouTube community guidelines, go specific to the area that says firearms, and they will talk about that. So let's go ahead and hit that up. Okay. Yes, I'm going to be reading from my screen. I'm not going to go to screen share, but let's talk about it. And just so you guys know, you guys can always post in the comment section, ask your questions there. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. But yes, there will be a Q&A after everything is said and done. I will post everyone's comments that I think is relevant to the conversation that we can discuss openly. Okay, so these are directly from YouTube's community guidelines. This is not anything I'm making up. You can Google it. Okay, if you are posting content, that's all it says. Don't post content on YouTube if the purpose is to do one or more of the following: to sell firearms or certain accessories through direct sales or links to sites that sell these items. These accessories may include accessories that enable a firearm to simulate automatic fire, accessories that convert a firearm to automatic fire, such as bump stocks, drop-in auto sears, or conversion kits. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mention some terms out there from the black and white. Once again, these are community guidelines people that have created this. They're not necessarily gun people, so they're going to use terms that they think are true, but aren't necessarily accurate to the gun community. So when I say things like Gatling triggers, even though that may be something that doesn't exist, it's something that they think represents an item that might be similar to a forced reset trigger or something like that. I have no idea. Anyway, but that's one of the things. Another thing is high-capacity magazines or belts carrying more than 30 rounds of ammunition. You cannot provide following instructions on manufacturing any of these items: firearms, ammunition, high-capacity magazines, homemade silencers or suppressors, accessories that enable a firearm to simulate automatic fire, accessories that convert a firearm to automatic fire, such as bump stocks, Gatling triggers, drop-in auto sears, or conversion kits. Provide instructions on how to convert a firearm to automatic or simulated automatic firing capabilities. Provides instructions on how to install the above-mentioned accessories or modifications. And then it says, please note, this is not a complete list. We'll get into that. Examples. Here are some of the examples of content that is not allowed on YouTube. Links in the title or description of your video to sites where firearms or accessories noted above are sold. You can link to sites that discuss or review these items as long as those sites don't sell those items directly. Displaying a firearm with the intention to sell that firearm via a private sale. This includes giving the seller's phone number, email address, or other contact information. Showing users step-by-step instructions on how to finish a lower receiver in order to complete fabrication of a firearm. Showing users how to make a silencer out of a flashlight, oil can, solvent catcher, or other parts. Once again, these are just examples. Showing users how to install a bump stock or install a comparable accessory built to enable simulated automatic fire. Live streams that feature someone holding or handling a firearm, regardless of whether or not they are firing it, hence the reason why you don't see me have a firearm on this live stream. Note, this does not include firearms in video games. Live streams that feature someone transporting firearms from place to place, such as by carrying them or traveling with them by car, truck, or other vehicle. This does not include firearms in video games. Please remember, these are just some examples, and don't post content if you think it might violate this policy. So what happens? What does the community guidelines say of those who actually violate this community standard? What happens to them? Well, it covers that too. If your content violates this policy, we'll remove the content and send you an email to let you know. If this is your first time violating our community guidelines, you'll likely get a warning with no penalty to your channel. If it's not, we may issue a strike against your channel. If you get 3 strikes against your channel within 90 days, your channel will be terminated. You can learn more about the strike system at blah, blah, blah. We may terminate your channel or account for repeated violations of the community guidelines or terms of service. We may also terminate your channel or account after a single case of severe abuse or when a channel is dedicated to a policy violation. You can learn more at this, blah, blah, blah. If you find content that violates this policy, report it. Instructions for reporting violations of our community guidelines are available. If you found a few videos or comments that you would like to report, you can report it to this guideline. That is what it says in black and white. Now the most important thing to my channel. How do these community guidelines affect this channel? That's really what is important. First off, I would like to say, have I gotten a warning? Yes, I have. However, have I received any strikes on this channel? None. None yet. That's not to say that it will happen. Once again, one of the things that is in black and white is it says this is not a complete list. They have yet to define what that complete list is, but it also says that you haven't violated anything so far from what I have posted. Based on everything that is written in the community guidelines, this channel really is not in danger of getting removed. So I want to put that out there right now. Some people may think that all gun content is going away. It isn't. They also have, definitely because of this, I have taken extra precautions to make sure I do not violate these YouTube policies because, quite frankly, I would want to continue to be on this platform, and I continue to want to post content that is what my audience likes. Okay, so also it's causing me to do other things, not only make sure that my stuff does not violate these newer guidelines, and I'm extra careful about that. It is also causing me to post my content elsewhere, not that I am sharing exclusive content elsewhere unless you are a paid viewer. That's a little different. But if you are not a paid viewer and you just want to go to another platform, I am on other platforms as well, which don't have the same guidelines as YouTube. So where am I? I'm on Rumble, I am on Utreon, and I'm on Patreon. Utreon is a little different. I'm getting used to it. I think it's pretty cool. Um, you know, and we'll talk about that in a second. So we kind of have to talk about what are a lot of these channels getting removed for, and what has everyone heard? Well, granted, if you heard what I was reading about, a lot of it has to do with suppressors and magazines. Um, and it specifically talks about belt-fed weapons, and it talks about magazines containing more than 30 rounds. It's hard to tell sometimes if if you have no idea what a gun can hold, that these magazines could hold more than 30 rounds, even if it's a small magazine, and most of us gun tubers know exactly how many rounds that thing may hold. So I will say that a lot of the channels that are being affected, and sadly, it's true, it isn't my channel. It is channels that have box magazine fed modern firearms, and people that attach suppressors and all sorts of stuff. Whether those suppressors are actually manufactured by them, or sent to them by someone who wants them to advertise it, or uh, or they just want to attach the suppressor for their own personal use. Um, According to them, that is why they are being taken down. Because I'm not doing any of that, my channel has not been affected. Now, I told you I did receive a warning. Funny thing about that is the warning had absolutely nothing to do with firearms content. It had everything to do with a knife, to be honest with you. So it's not just firearms content that gets warnings and strikes. I know that since we are all part of the same community, we focus a lot on the firearms, but there's other content out there that is being watched, and definitely being severely watched, I should say. So I wanted to go ahead and just lay that out in black and white of exactly why this channel would be affected or not affected, and what content they are specifically looking at. Other YouTubers are also saying that they're having previous videos receiving strikes or taken down due to the fact that during those community guidelines, it was completely okay. But now, within the last couple of weeks, because these new community guidelines are out, YouTube is retroactively going back and giving channel strikes based on older content that may be 7, 10 years old, 6 years old, whatever. At that point, I'm not saying that that is, right or wrong, but that's part of the reason why they would reference those guidelines. They may not necessarily care how old the YouTube video is. So, once again, that's not a fact. I'm just assuming on that one. Okay. So, with that being said, with everything that is going on, granted, I will say that some YouTubers came out last night, actually shortly after I posted that this live stream was coming out. YouTubers came out and said that their channels actually got put back on, that YouTube had made a mistake, that they had once again gone back and reviewed and all that stuff, and things have gone back to normal for their channel. All strikes were removed. But it doesn't mean that it won't happen to other content creators, specifically gun tubers in general. We don't know all who is affected, but obviously those who have made videos have been affected in some way. Now, whether they're telling you the 100% truth of why they got affected, there may have been things that they legitimately did that were outside of the guidelines. You kind of have to just take that into consideration. That's just being unbiased, okay? But people are going to tell you what they think is going on, and you take it for what it is as the viewer. With that being said, okay. So with all this being said, we kind of have to understand why do gun tubers even do YouTube with all this stuff that is going on? Well, first off, there's 3 major reasons that I think people have a tendency to do this. I was going to say that this is a job, it's a moneymaker, it's a business, okay? You do it because you get something from it, right? Whether that be money, that be fame, that be attention, okay? You do it also because of the love of your niche. You love what you talk about. You want others to hear your love for it. You want to drag others into interest. And one of the things that I like to say is I want to be a content creator for those who are interested in the Western shooting sports. I love the Western shooting sports. I want to share my love for it. I want other people who are interested in stuff like that to join it so that the sport continues, right? It doesn't die out. Okay. Um, let's talk about my opinion of this. So, I've talked about the facts. I've talked about what went on with what other people were saying. Um, but let's talk a little bit about my opinion because I'm sure everybody's been wondering that. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, ask them in the comments section. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And maybe I'll even bring it up on screen. We'll see. Okay, so my opinion of this. This is a very unfortunate thing that is happening. Is it something that is true? If others weren't complaining about it, then I would say that it's not true, but it is happening because of that. People are talking about it, so therefore something must be going on. So I don't think it's false. People are just putting out false information. I just don't think everyone is covering all the facts, which, as I said, we talked about it in this video previously. You can watch it on the replay. And if you want to Google it for yourself, by all means, community guidelines, go ahead and look it up. It's there. Okay. It's very unfortunate that this stuff is happening to them. I feel for them, especially with a lot of the work that you put into creating content for viewers, making stuff entertaining. You want stuff that gets views. You want stuff that gets people's attention. And sometimes that means putting out the latest and greatest thing or doing it bigger and better than the other content creators. And some channels can do that. Unfortunately, because of that, it leads them into territory that might be skewed by the people who own the company because of their viewership and because of what they see and the people that, you never know, maybe a content creator got reported by a viewer. Maybe that's why. And just because you have to kind of level up sometimes, I think it causes the guidelines to be pushed. Even though people don't intentionally try to violate the guidelines, it can be misconstrued by the community guidelines creators or YouTube in general that it is just outside of boundaries, or it could be something that is potentially going to violate community guidelines. Okay. Once again, it's just unfortunate in general. And we always have a saying of, one bad apple kind of spoils the bunch, right? One person goes out there and messes things up for the rest of us. You can't do it ever again. So you just have to be mindful as a content creator that is something that you're also suffering from, is you're suffering from repercussions that happened way back when, one person one time did one thing that caused something bad or just caused bad publicity. So that is what it is. All right. Unfortunately, I don't run the YouTube platform, and a lot of other gun tubers don't, even though they may or may not have a whole lot of influence on it. Okay. We also have to remember that YouTube itself is a private company, right? Regardless of what people think, even though we may go out there and say, well, big government actually controls what you see. There are people out there that control all the information you get. If it is a company and being a business owner, here's the bottom line. I'm going to do what makes me money. YouTube does not want to lose revenue, right? Where do they get their revenue? They get their revenue from outside sources, people who want to share their products on their platform, and therefore, if their products don't want to be posted on certain type of content, that content is not going to be either not shown ads or it's going to be potentially against community guidelines. That might be kind of a sad way of looking at it, but that's most likely what YouTube is doing, right? So you have to look at it from a business perspective because it is not a government-run entity. It is a private company that is coming up with its own business model that has its own beliefs in what they should post. And it also wants to, bottom line, make money because that's what a business does, right? If it's not making money, why even do it? And quite frankly, it's not as big, it wouldn't be as big as it is if it wasn't making money. So you got to think about the bottom line. What is causing them to make money? The ads, right? If the advertisers don't want to be on certain types of content, you are either not going to get paid or you are possibly not going to be allowed to post that type of stuff. That's just an unfortunate truth. Is it right? That's debatable. If it is wrong, once again, debatable. You have to look at it from a business mindset. I think it stinks. That's my opinion. It stinks because I want to post what I want, right? I don't intentionally go out there trying to post things for people to hurt themselves, hurt others, or anything like that. And I don't think any of those products that they even outlawed try to do that. Unfortunately, once again, there's people out there that are going to do the wrong thing that one time, and it's going to ruin it for the rest of us. That goes the same with any organization, right? Because YouTube is an organization too, and not just a business. They want what is best practices for them. People mess up, they make changes, they make sure that the content can be better, in their opinion, and safer for their audience. It is what it is, right? So that leads into my last point. How can the viewer help? Okay. The viewer can help by continuing to support your current content creator. The content creators you like, right? Whether that be fashion, whether that be guns, whether that be video making, finance, doesn't matter. Support your content creators directly. How can you do that? Well, you can go to their subscription services and subscribe to them, support them in a monetary way, because as I said, this is a moneymaker. It's a business thing for everyone, right? Who does it? Otherwise, you wouldn't 100% do this without some type of gain, right? You can always go to Utreon, Patreon, and support your favorite content creator. Yes, there are some content creators that can't get supported on those platforms, and I'm not one of them, right? And I think this kind of also talks a little bit about why a lot of YouTubers have recommended that we leave the platform and go elsewhere. I think, quite frankly, and I know this might upset people, but I think that is ill-advised. Here's why. The only reason that we end up making this content platform better is by staying on it. Not necessarily fighting the system, but our presence generates some type of audience. And that's what YouTube cares about. They care about their audience. Their audience goes elsewhere or looks at other things that aren't necessarily, that are, it looks at other things that they might not necessarily value. If you guys have noticed, these community guidelines do change. Whether you say they get stricter or not is irrelevant. They change. And that's the thing that we should pay attention to. Is if they change, that means they will change based on what the audience does. Bottom line. If the audience leaves YouTube, you have given YouTube no more better reason to change their guidelines. That doesn't mean, and I'm not advocating, that a content creator should not go elsewhere and put content, duplicate it, make it more available to another audience, because there are some people, quite frankly, who have abandoned YouTube. That's their choice. And other companies have spouted up in competition. So if you are one of those viewers that doesn't want to be on YouTube anymore, wants to view elsewhere, that's fine. The content creator who is creating your content should be posting content to those other platforms, but should not leave YouTube at all. My policy is you're going to have to force me to leave. And I'm not going anywhere until YouTube takes me away. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. But once again, it's based on the audience. It's based on the ad revenue. So I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to talk about it. I think it's important to talk about on this live stream. Make sure that we get concerns out there. In short, the channel is not going away. Has not been given any strikes based on what people are saying. Has not violated any of the community guidelines. I have not had to appeal to YouTube other than the one warning I got for a knife video. So needless to say, I think so far this content is safe. I think that you guys can have peace of mind that my content is going to continue to be produced. And it's not really going to change, aside from I am just going to make sure that anything that is magazine fed through a box magazine that is detachable, that looks modern, I might change it just a little bit. It's just a little nuance. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant, just because at this point in time, those are the community guidelines that we're following, and I'm not going to go against those guidelines, period. I hope you guys are enjoying your day. Don't forget to buy me a cup of coffee. Don't forget to subscribe to Utreon and Patreon. I look forward to seeing you in the next broadcast. Have a great day. Thank you.